Hello, my name is Eric, and I'm doing another one of my photography vlogs called One Body, One Lens, One Roll, One Day. I am here at Buckeye Woods Park in Medina County, part of the Medina County Metro Parks. There's a cool path area over there. There's a cool fishing pond over there. There's soccer lacrosse fields over there. I've got a big, huge field over here, walking paths all over the place. So this ought to be kind of a cool place to shoot. I have shot here once before, I think one of my earlier episodes, but I figured I'd come back here. I haven't been here in a while. Today's camera, Nikon N70. I've shot a couple of these before. I still have this one. I've shot this particular one before, but this is a different lens. This is the Nikon ED-AF Nikkor 300 f4. This is a gear drive autofocus lens, not the newer AFS or AFP motors for the digital ones. This body does know the gear drive, so it's a nice match there. This does do pretty long on the focus throw. It's a good 3/4 of the way around. The catch is this particular lens and a couple of the older gear drive ones, as you might have heard, do develop a little bit of a squeal in their autofocus motor. You can kind of hear that. Where the AFS motors and AFP motors, either they'll fail or they just keep rolling. So I'm going to shoot this up. It does autofocus, so I'm going to shoot it in autofocus. Maybe I'll flip it to manual focus every now and then. Today's film is also a kind of more unique film. This is Doublefilm's Apollo. First time shooting double film. I've got this, and I think I've got a roll of medium format, which I'll shoot a little bit later. But I figured might as well shoot it up because I've shot this camera before, and I've been here before. So let's bring in an interesting roll of film. Now, the only thing that I'd be worried about would be the fact that this is a 300mm lens. It is kind of an overcast day, so the sun's not going to be helping me out that much. But 200 speed film, and I might pull it back just a little bit more, like maybe to 160 or 125, like my normal. But it might be hard for me to handhold it, so I'm going to have to watch my shutter speeds. Good rule of thumb is in an overcast situation or in a low light situation, typically wherever you are in the focal length of your lens, in this case 300mm, should be close to where you're at in your shutter speed to be able to handhold that without any assistance from a stabilized lens or stabilized camera. Neither one of these are stabilized, so I'm going to try to see if I can hit 250 of the second, 500 of the second. I might or might not because it is kind of an overcast day. I'm hoping I do. If not, then I'm going to brace myself against some trees, maybe kneel down and prop my elbows up. So we'll see what happens there. It did rain yesterday, so the ground's a little damp, so I might not be doing too much kneeling or be careful just because of the fact that, I don't want my, slip and fall or anything like that. All right, let me load it up and let me see what I can get. I'll be right back. Okay, she's loading up, and first look at base light readings, setting it for ISO 125. So I am deliberately going to be overexposing this film by about 2/3 of a stop. One, I like richer negatives. Two, this film I think is a couple years expired, like maybe 5 or 6 years. So I'm going to pull it back, and that'll help out with the negatives there. All right, let me get some shots. With the ISO 125, I am reading give or take 400th of a second, so I should be able to handhold this stuff at f4. I might try to go a little bit deeper in the f-stop and, just to see how low I can handhold. All right, let me get some shots. As with a lot of long lenses, this lens does have a minimum focus distance. This minimum focus is 2.5 meters, which loosely translates to 7.5, 8 feet. So these purple flowers right here, I can't get up really close because my lens is going to get me close. So I'm not going to have great macro, but I should be able to isolate some of them. So let me see what I can get. So yeah, I'm like 3-4 steps away. But I did get an isolated patch, so that's good. All right, let me see what else I can get. I hear some bees floating around. Maybe from this distance I can grab them, maybe not, because again, this is not a macro lens. And I'll probably head down that path. All right, let me get some shots. Butterfly drying his wings, so cool. Smaller one, because he's not moving, I might be able to get some okay shots. Firing at f4, 250 the second, I should have been able to handhold that. All right, now that I've got that butterfly, got those flowers, let me head that way. Let me see what I can get. So the nice thing about long lenses is you can isolate your subject more, especially if you don't want to be disturbing them. So animals at the zoo, they're doing their thing. You know, people walking down a path, air show that's coming up soon. You basically can concentrate on one specific subject. The catch becomes if they're moving, it's a little bit harder to follow. A lot of sports photographers will be using something this long in the 70 to 200, 300, even 400 range, depending upon the sport and depending upon where they're at. If you're following sports, what they basically say is for every 100 millimeters on your lens is about 10 yards you can go and still keep a full body shot. So what they're basically saying is with this 300 millimeter, I can go about 30 yards and still get full body. I'm not really tight, but it's not too far away either. I mean, 30 yards, that's a good, 90, 100 feet or so. And if you're shooting a sidelines, that's a good third of the way into a football field. Or if you're shooting at the end, that's definitely field goal range, and you could shoot the stuff coming at you. So really good for distance type sports. Car racing or something like that where you can't get close because of fencing and stuff like that. Sometimes a bit too long for certain things. If you're indoor sports, let's say indoor high school basketball or volleyball, this is definitely going to be too close, where maybe something more in the 100 millimeter range or 35-70, 24-105 zoom type of thing would work. All right, let me get some more shots. I see some isolated picnic tables, some isolated benches. I'm at the pond area. The mosquitoes are out, so if you see me swatting at them, there's one just kind of flew towards my eye. Is what it is. That's what happens when you're out walking in the woods, and yeah, they're flying around me. And I didn't put any insect repellent on, so yeah, I'll probably get eaten up a little bit. All right, let me see what I can get, disregarding the mosquitoes, and I'll be right back. All right, shooting at that range into a kind of a shadowy tree area at f4. That's about a 30th of a second. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to get that shot. That's tough for me, especially with this longer lens. So I might aim this where it's a little bit more sunnier, and let me see what I can get. All right, so there's some lily pads and plants out on the fishing pond. And that's what the 300 is really good for, is now I can isolate them because I can't get into the water. And I'm catching some cool reflection of the sky off of the water, so that should be some cool shots. Now this lens does have a protection filter on it. It is a clear filter. Back in the film day, they were called UV or skylight filters. Now in the day of digital, they're called digital protection filters, different classes and stuff like that. I am a big fan of don't put a cheap filter in front of an expensive lens. So if you get, if you're just using the standard stock lens or a 50 millimeter, yeah, put on the $10, $20, $30, clear filter. It helps protects it. But if you've got something that's maybe $500, $1,000, $2,500, no, I'm not putting that same $5, $10 filter on it. If I've got professional level glass, and I believe in the use of protection filters, I'm going to be using the high-end protection filter, which, yeah, could be a little pricey, and they start at probably $60 and go up to about $400 or $500, depending upon where they're made. This one's actually a Nikon L37C. It is an 82 millimeter filter. It is coated a little bit. I'm seeing some bluish reflections off of it. This particular filter did take a little nick on the filter ring, but the glass did not crack, so I'm still using it. But that's basically what it's designed to do. Should this thing take a nosedive, and you don't have your hood on, this actually still has, this has a built-in hood, which I haven't played with yet, because it's not a sunny day. But the filter would take the impact, and like a crumple zone in your car, probably shatter. In doing so, it probably saves your, or probably going to say like a 90% chance that it saves your expensive lens from any serious damage. Yeah, you might get a a battle scar or something like that, but that's what's the fun of equipment if you don't go out and actually use it. Newer film cameras were a little bit more susceptible to UV haze, which is why they were UV filters back then. Digital cameras are not as susceptible to UV spectrum light, but they are a little bit more susceptible to infrared spectrum. And they did for a while have a UV IR cutoff filter, so it basically blocked UV spectrum and blocked infrared spectrum and just shot visible spectrum, which is fine. They're actually very nice filters. I've had one before, sold the lens it was on, so I sold the filter with it. But very sharp, very good glass on it. The only catch would be if you do astrophotography, a lot of like comets and stuff like that, if you'd like to see the trail on it, that's caused by UV, or you can be seen under UV. So if you take a shot without a filter, you'll see that kind of cool dust, that kind of trail on it. But if you had a UV filter on it, it would disappear. You would see like a very tiny one. You wouldn't see the cool colors coming off of it. Kind of the same thing. So make sure you're using the right filter for what you got. And I saw a bee floating around. I don't see him at the moment, so that would have been cool. All right, I'm shot 24 at a roll of 36. So let me get a couple more shots around here. Start working my way back to where my car's parked, and let me see what else I can get. Depending upon if I'm facing the more shadows of the opposing trees and stuff on the other side, or kind of getting where the clouds are hitting the lake, I'm getting anywhere between a 125th of a second and a 500th of a second. The only thing I'm worried about is the 500th of a second. If I'm shooting these lily pads or whatever they are, they might appear a little silhouette. So I might have to do a little tweak and post to kind of bring them up a little bit. But we'll see what happens with the photos, because this is a new film. It might be kind of interesting just to see what it does by itself. All right, let me see what else I can get. All right, that's the end of my roll, and N70s don't kick in to rewind automatically. They want you to be able to step away from like anybody's doing any audio recording or anything like that. So there is a two button set, like two red wheels, which looks like a sideways roll of film. You push them both down, and about a second or two later, it kicks into rewind. This is again one of the more quieter cameras back in the day, so it was designed to try to get basically the noise reduced, because the N90s and the 8008s and the 6006s of the early 90s, this was kind of what it started to replace, and they made those shutters quieter because people were complaining. It's like, hey, I can, I'm filming stuff during a press conference and I'm just hearing these clicks of camera shutters and the wheezes as you reloaded the film. So started making them a little bit quieter. All right, so that's the end of my roll of film. And again, today's camera was an N70, Nikon N70. I've shot these a couple different times. A little bit more unique of a lens. It is a Nikon AF Nikkor 300mm f4. This is before they started doing the sonic motors, the AFSs, or the vibration reduction. So this is probably a 80s, 90s lens. Supposedly very sharp. I did have a Nikon clear protection filter on it. It did take a nick somewhere along the line, but in probably doing so, probably saved my lens from doing more critical damage. And today's film was Apollo double film. I didn't necessarily know the exact age of this. I figured 5-6 years old. So I did pull it back and shoot it at ISO 125, which did not help me on this overcast day. But hopefully I did get some shots. I got some, hopefully shot some cool butterflies, some bees, some flowers, landscapes down the paths, that type of stuff. Photos will be posted at the end. Give them a thumbs up if you like them. Feel free to subscribe as new episodes come out about every Friday and Saturday. Sometimes bonus episodes get out there, specific location type stuff or special event stuff that I want to push out. Feel free to again subscribe, like, comment on the photos if you like them. Just comment on your experience with double film. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode.